All right. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I will need response. So it's not a one-man class. We have to be discussing, and I need to be hearing from you so that I will know that you are there. All right. Okay. We are going to look at the definitions of economics, the scope, the concepts, the basic concepts, then basic economic problems, and alternative economic systems. And these topics or subtopics is in module 1. So we are going to work our work this evening, or our discussion this evening basically will be on module 1. That's where I would like us to look at first. All right. So hello. So when we talk about economics, economics is basically is mainly what we see and do every day. Is what we do every day. So in my own little definition, I said economics is the study of human efforts, to satisfy human unlimited wants with a relatively scarce resources. The choice we make concerning the use of scarce resources that have alternative uses. All right. Are we together? Hello?
Yes, we're together.
All right. So, and there are so many other definitions by so many authors, so many economists, and as an individual, one can have his or her own economics depending on your understanding. And when we talk about when we talk about the scope of economics, when we look at the scope, we are basically looking at how does this economics go about the nature. Economics is a social science, and it deals with human's behavior, just as I have said in my, it deals with human behavior on how to cope with fundamental problems of scarcity. When we talk about economics, we look at scarcity. Scarcity is the major problem we have. Scarcity is the major economic problem we have, because the human wants, is insatiable. We have so much needs, we have so much wants, but the resources to meet to those wants and needs, they are limited in nature. And so it's only with economics that we'll be able to manage the limited wants, the limited resources we have. It's only with economics that we'll be able to manage the limited resources. And so that's why economics is basically talking about scarcity. The scarce resources, how do we manage them? The scarce resources, how do we go about them? The scarce resources, we have different things we want to do at the same time. But because of the limited resources, that the unlimited ones is relying on, how do we now fashion out ways to meet those wants at their appropriate time? Because there's no how we meet all those wants at the same time. So these ones are to be met individually in different times and at different period. Okay. So we now look at nature of economics. When we talk about nature of economics is, we looked at economics as a science, we looked at economics as an art. So when we talk about economics as a science, we talk about collection of facts and figures that should be analyzed correctly. You know, we do analysis. Those ones that are limited, we analyze on them. You know, we basically analyze, and we have, like, for instance, we have theories. We have theories that we connect, just like microeconomics. You know, in microeconomics, we do some analysis and we examine carefully values of economic theories that are based on logical reasoning. That's when we talk about economics as a science. You know, just like we have the science laws, like law of Newton, gravity and all that. Economics has laws. We have law of demand, we have law of supply. That's when we talk about economics as a science. That's the nature it appears. So, and we have economics as an art. When we talk about economics as an art, we are talking about the practical application of the scientific principles. You know, it applies, it's mainly on how do we, the applying of the principles of economics. You know, how do we apply the law of demand? How do we apply the law of supply? You know, that at the end, we'll be able to maximize what we have. We'll be able to make good use of what we have. So we go to the scope of economics. When we talk about the scope of economics, economics majors in micro and macro. That is where it narrows down. Economics, the scope of economics looks at micro and the and the and the macroeconomics. And when we talk about micro, micro, micro deals with the government. That's generalized. Micro stands, you know, it looks at the, 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 the entire GDP. It looks at the economy as a whole. It takes cognizance of the company, the individual, the firms, and it looks about the unemployment rate, rate of growth, price levels, and all those things that comes under macroeconomics. It's a field of economics that studies the behavior of the economy as a whole. It talks about the economy as a whole. You know, not just a specific companies. Companies are involved. It talks about the entire industries and economics. It looks at broad economic aggregates. You know, it covers the GDP, how it affects, excuse me, how it affects the factors, so many other factors like unemployment. So when we look at economics, the scope of economics, microeconomics is limited to individuals. You know, it studies the decisions that individuals make regarding the allocation of resources, income, and prices of goods and services. You know, it is the study of particular market. It studies about a segment, that's the individual now. It doesn't look at the whole economy, while macro looks at the whole economy. So, we've seen the distinction between them. Micro studies about individuals, while macro studies about the whole economy, that's the aggregate. Micro deals with individual income, individual price, individual output, while macro is talking about aggregate, the national income, the general price level, and national output. Macro looks about the problem, the central problem, its central problem is price determination and allocation of resources. It's difficult to allocate resources there. But under macro, the problem we have there is level of income and employment is being determined by that. So you can go on and we keep talking about it. Micro deals with the economy of the nation, the aggregate, the GDP, while micro deals with a segment, which is the individual, the firm, the household, and all that. We'll go down to the concepts, major concepts, the basic concepts of economics. We have basic concepts of economics. And when we look at when we talk about concepts, we are talking about scarcity. We talk about choice we make as a result of scarcity. We talk about scale of preference and opportunity cost. So we are going to take these concepts one after the other. These are the basic things we look at when we come to economics, just like the fundamentals and the foundation which we build on. We have scarcity. When we talk about scarcity, we talk about unlimited. We talk about resource, will I say, wants that are so numerous that has nothing that will be able to. We have limited resources that will be able to take care of those wants. Scarcity is it is the condition in which our wants for goods are greater than limited resources. Our resources, we have land, we have labor, we have capital and entrepreneur. So, but in this case, the wants at hand is much more bigger, much more greater than these resources that we look at for us to be able to take care of those wants. So in this case now, what do we do? How do we solve the problem of this scarcity? How do we take care of this scarcity? Because goods are very little to be able to take care of these numerous wants. So let's look at this, let's look at it in this way. For instance, our wants for goods are infinite, but our resources which we need to produce the goods are finite, very little. Scarcity is our infinite wants hitting up against finite resources. Little resources, looking for a way to target our numerous wants. That is scarcity. If our wants were not greater than the limited resources available to satisfy them, there will be no field of study called economics. So if we doesn't have a need, because economics centers about how do we manage these limited resources at hand. If we doesn't have a need of scarcity, if there's no scarcity, there won't be need for economics, because economics is just talking about how do we ration these scarce resources that we have. How do we take care of them at the aggregate level, individual level, the economy, the household, yourself, myself, and everybody. So that's why economics come into play. Economics come, in order for us to be able to, economics wants to tell us how we'll be able to manage these little resources, and they'll be able to satisfy the wants we have at a particular time. So from there we go to choice. Choice. People have to make choices because of scarcity. The only reason why you make choice is because there is scarcity. If we have everything we want, we wouldn't make choice. To have the resources we want to foot our bills, to make productions and all that, we won't make choices. We just go ahead, do what we want to do, satisfy our needs, get everything we want. But since nature made it so, there's no way we can go without scarcity. And so the need for choice making comes in. So when we talk about choice, talk about how do we select, how do we make selections, how do we pick the ones that are good, the ones that are highly needed at that particular time, and then how do we make good use of the resources on those ones that are highly needed. You know, we must make choice. We must make choice. Which ones we will satisfy and which we will not. That's why we make choice. It's a decision. It is a decision an individual, a society, a country, the government make about the use of scarce resources. For instance, the government have to decide on the best possible way to allocate resources. They have to decide how do we allocate these little resources we have at hand here. For example, where and what kind of factories must we build? Where are we going to build a fertilizer factory? Where is it going to make maximum profit? You know, the firm also have to decide how to maximize profit because they don't establish for them to make losses. So choice as a result of scarcity will help us to maximize our profits by helping us to make the right choice. How and what and when and where. You know, what is the most efficient way to produce goods? In the rainy season, do we produce raincoats more? Do we make umbrellas? Or do we start producing, what is it called? Uh, uh, I don't know. I don't know how I will put it. But we make the choices we are to make are those ones that will maximize our profit. Just like in the rainy season, a factory that make production of umbrella, they make more income. So during dry season, you find out that their production reduces because they won't be able to maximize profit. So
Right.
choice comes in when we are making selection, when we are making decision, when we are deciding on how to settle the scarce, how to make use of the limited resources to settle out all our numerous wants, which definitely we have to pick some. So in the process of picking some, we're talking about choice. So we go down from there, we now boil down to opportunity costs. You know, in the process of making this decision, we have to give up other alternative. So the concept of opportunity costs comes in. It comes in. So when you talk about opportunity costs is what it costs us when we make a choice. What do you forfeit for you to achieve this? You know, people often think of cost in terms of dollars. In this case, we're not talking about the money. We are talking about, you know, as an economist, costs often means more than price tag placed on a good or service. Instead, economists think in terms of opportunity cost, that the cost of the next best alternative use of money, the cost of next best alternative use of money, time or resources. You know, when one make a choice, you know, you make a choice of this rather than the other. So the cost of that next best alternative use is what we talk when we talk about opportunity cost. That's what we look at. You know, every time we make a choice, we incur an opportunity cost. For example, for instance, if you choose to buy a pair of shoes, in making this choice, you deny yourself the benefit of buying some other thing else. Probably you've itemized clothes, beverages, and all that and all that. Then you feel like, I think having a pair of shoes is what you need most. You know, that's an opportunity cost. You could have bought a shirt or a novel, a bag, or your beverage or whatever. So whatever you would have chosen to buy, had you decided not to buy a pair of shoes, is the opportunity cost of you buying the pair of shoes. You know, whatever thing you made up your mind to buy, the ones you left has become the opportunity for has become your opportunity cost. You've There's an alternative forgone. You know, you've forgone those ones for you to get a pair of shoes. You know, if you would have bought a bag, probably if you have chosen not to buy a pair of shoes, the bag you've forgone, which is the next best alternative, becomes your opportunity cost. Because when you itemize the things you need, your wants, probably bag is there, beverage is there, whatever, then shoe. And the bag and shoe comes, you know, after one another, probably after the bag, the shoes, the pair of shoes, then you've forgone the bag and other things, and then you bought the pair of shoes. The bag you've forgone, because the bag is your best alternative, the next best alternative is just following the shoes. Because yeah, you put your list, you made your list in your order of priority. So for you to have forgone your bag and acquire your shoes, the bag is your next best alternative, because if you weren't buying that shoe, definitely you will go for the bag. Hello?
Hi.
Are you there? Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
We're with you now.
Onya
Yeah.
Chijoke,
Yes.
you're welcome to the class. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying, because there are
Yes, ma'am.
sometimes you'll be asked, what
Okay.
in this list, if you are to buy, probably a list is given to you now. For instance, maybe in an exam or anywhere you are asked in any place, okay, you are to buy television sets, radio, and you make those lists and all that and all that. I need a shoe, I need bag. So in that list, radio, television, shoes, and all that and all that. Then you now picked television. The next one is radio, is it not? So when you have radio and you still have others down there, in that case, your next best alternative is radio, because after television comes radio. But you've picked television because television is your number one. You know, remember your list is in order of priority, hierarchy, you know, the way they are being needed by you. So in that case, that television, that radio after television stands as your next best alternative, because if you weren't going to get the television, if television wasn't so important to you, you would have gone for radio. So in that case, because some people get confused when you are given a list. They look at this list, you have to buy television, what is your next alternative, whatever, what is your opportunity cost? The opportunity cost of you getting that television is the radio, because radio is your next best alternative, which your resources, your limited resources could have gotten if you weren't getting the radio and the television. So in that case, that is what you call your alternative opportunity cost. So from there we go to scale of preference. Scale of preference is just what I have even explained now. You know, in the cost of opportunity cost. Scale of preference is just the, the list being put in order of priority. Is list of individual wants in order of their relative importance. That's priority. When you make your list in economics, it's called scale of preference. It helps us, to make our choice. It helps us to know your opportunity, your next, the one you could have even taken, if not for the one you have taken now. Okay. So from here now, we'll be going down to basic economic questions. We have basic economic questions. There are some questions that are paramount in economics. There are questions that you can't do without. Definitely there arises because of the same scarcity we are talking about. To provide for the needs of the people, a society must answer these three basic questions. There are three questions. Without them, the economy or individual, the society will not be able to do well in rationing their limited resources. We have what to produce. What to produce. The first question is what to produce. Should a society devote most of its time or its resources to producing military equipment or other items such as food, clothing, or whatever? What do we produce at a particular time? What do a company produce at a given time? When you talk about, for instance, umbrella or raincoat, if a company should produce a raincoat during dry season when there is sun, it will make sense. That means the limited resources which should have been targeted on or directed on other wants, reasonable wants at that moment, is seen as is a waste, because the raincoats, they are not useful at that moment. People may not really come in for them. People may not really buy them at that point in time. People will not buy those things. So what to produce is very important. Suppose the decision is to produce housing. Should its limited resources, if a company make a decision on how, maybe probably an economy, decide to produce house, with the limited resources be used for, will it be for low income earners? Will it be for middle income earners or upper income earners? When a country or the government feel like, okay, let's make provisions for the society, for the people, for the betterment of the masses, then they decide to build. If they are building, are they going to build for low income earners? These are the decisions. These are what, how do we do this thing? What do we do? What do we do? How many of each will be needed? Will these limited resources be enough? Because everything centers on the limited resources. The society cannot have everything its people want, so it must decide on what. Because we don't have all we need to satisfy our wants or whatever, the question of what to produce comes in, so that the limited resources will be targeted on those ones that are important. If building for low income earners, probably the building for them may not really be all that expensive. There are some things that may not be fixed in for them. Probably the government will look at it that if we are to build for the low income earners, probably with so amounts in our hand, the little resources we have, we'll be able to do that. Government will target on that. Individual is not only the government, individuals equally need to think. what, how, what do we do with these limited resources we have at hand? We do it at individual level, we do it at the economy level, that's the government. So we now go to how do we produce? This is the second question. How do we produce? Should factory owners use assembly line machines, assembly line methods that require little labor? Or should they use less equipment and more workers? You think of how do we make the production. If you are to produce raincoats during rainy season and is a factory, what do we do as an economy, as a factory, as a company? How do we, what hands do we need to employ that will cost us less? At the end of the day, will maximize profit. Because when you put in much, you find out that the profit will not, you won't be able to maximize your profit, which is the target of business. So we now think of how do we go about our production? Do we need to employ more of hands? Do we go for capital intensive or labor intensive? You know, assembly line method in countries where capital is widely available usually have lower production costs. So you find out that when you use assembly line methods, you have lower production costs. Lower costs make many manufactured items less expensive and therefore available to more people. So when we go for assembly line methods, you find out that it will be cheaper in the market. When the raincoats and all that is brought to the market, it will be very cheap. People will come for it. Mind you, the economy is equally targeting the society, that's the masses, to make sure they are being fully satisfied with the little resources at hand. And so if the issue of how doesn't come in, you find out that the little resources you have at hand may not be able to satisfy the masses. It may not be able to take care of the masses. So you find out that the satisfaction will be very low. And that means the government at that time knows that probably is not doing well. So that's why these basic economic questions need to be adequately and correctly answered. Because if they are not well answered, you find out that things will not really move well in an economy, even individuals, even in firms. So we go to the third question: for whom to produce? This is the third question. And after society decides on what and how to make the production, the items produced must be allocated to someone. You don't just produce to keep at home. You produce to allocate. We produce to send out. So if the society decides to produce housing, should it be distributed to workers? Who do we distribute it to? Do we give it to the professional people? Do we give it to government employees? Is it the business men and women? Probably there's another group equally that is more deserving than all these ones. So who decides? Who decides? So at the end of the day, you find out that it's very important we make decisions. Government thinks of how do we distribute what we have produced. So even in this case, you still have choice coming, you see choice coming in. Because when the probably houses or whatever you have produced is not enough for everybody, which is that same scarcity, a choice must be made as to who will receive the existing supply, who will receive the existing, to whom this particular product is being made. So it's very, very important we look at these three economic problems, three basic economic problems. So these three basic economic problems, these three basic economic choices, we make a choice on what, how, and for whom to produce. For the society to make it never is very important. Different societies answered it in different ways. Different individuals answered it in different ways. If I'm to produce a house and I'm a government, probably as an individual or whatever, I will answer it in my own way. I know what to produce. Victor, Iwala, you're welcome. I know what to produce. I should know how to make it cheaper when I bring it to the market. I should equally know the people I'll target to give. I'll know where I'll sell it. I'll know the market I'll take it to. Because if I'm to make, as an individual, I make some productions, probably shoes, and I take it to the market where food is needed, probably food market, I won't be able to sell. So I should target those whom I'm making the production to. These three basic economic problems, they are very essential and being answered in a different ways. Different individuals answered it differently. Firms differently, governments differently. So that's that. I hope you are together.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Well,
right.
we are
All
here.
right.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Tenet,
Different path.
You are welcome. You're welcome. So that's that. For that, we'll be going to alternative economic systems. Alternative economic systems. When we talk about economic systems, we are looking at, after we have gone through the nature and scope of economics, we talk about the methods we use in analyzing economic investigations. Knowing what economics is all about. At least I think we know that economics is all about how do we satisfy our numerous wants with the little resources we have. How do we take care of question of scarcity? Economics is mainly the basic economic concept. That's just what economics is all about. So knowing what economics is all about and all that, in all the foregoing units we talked, it's necessary to look at how the scarce resources of a society can be allocated to household, firms, and government. So we are going to look at the three alternative economic systems we have. Here we are going to look at the free market economy. We look at the socialist economy, that's the centrally planned economy. And then we'll talk about mixed economy. Mixed economy. In a free market economy, people and firms act in their own best interest to answer what, how, for whom question, these three basic economic questions, because that's what the economic system is looking for, how to answer these three basic questions. That's what they're interested in. And these three questions arises as a result of scarcity. And for them to solve and to bring answers to these three basic economic questions, they're going to look at how do we make these things, these little wants, these little resources we have, how do we ration it? How do we allocate it? How do we spread it? Who is to get what? That's just what they are looking about. So this economic system, the alternative economic system, the economic systems, they are looking at how do we share all these things to our people. So in economic terms, a market, when we talk about market, we are talking about an agreement that allows buyers and sellers to come together in order to exchange goods and services. That's market. So a market could be in a specific location, such as a farmer's market, or any other kind of market you can think of. So when we in a free market economy, we are still talking about markets. The best economic decision regarding the allocation of resources, that is production and distribution, depends on the free choice of buyers and sellers. Market is talking about coming together of buyers and sellers. And these people don't just come together, they come in agreement. You are selling this and buying this. Are you going to sell to me? Will you supply your goods? Am I in need of it? So this is what market is all about. And free market economy, we've talked about market, and we know free is when someone is free to move, when nothing is hindering you. So in a free market economy, so the allocation of resources depends fully on the free choice of buyers and sellers. You, the buyer, and I, the seller, both of us make the choice. We decide on what to produce. We decide on how do we produce it. We decide on for whom we give it. In this type of economy, the forces of demand and supply comes into play. We talk about you, the buyer, you are now the one that is making the demand, demanding for it. Then I, the seller, am the one supplying. So this comes into play because both of us are made to agree. So, and when we agree, then free market economy will be able to move. So as demand, demand is the willingness and ability of a consumer to pay for a specific quantity of a good. When your ability, your financial capacity of buying that thing, of you being able to acquire it. That's when we talk about demand and willingness. Two things are there: your financial capacity and willingness, your ability to buy it, which is your finance, and then your willingness, because you won't force someone to get what he or she doesn't want. So that's what we call demand. So when we go to supply is that quantity. A producer, the seller, is willing to sell at different price levels. The producers are always looking for goods and services that consumers will buy. Suppliers, as the producers, they don't just bring anything to the market. They went on market survey. What will our people want? If I'm to produce raincoats during Harmattan, will they buy it? In that case, consumers play a key role. Consumer plays a key role, because if the consumers are not willing and able, which is their finance, their monetary value, if they are not, and the supplier, which is the producer, brings his or her goods to the market, definitely the supplier will go home with his or her goods, because the supplier did not really check the key person, and the key person is the consumer. The key person is the one that determines what you are to produce. They determines what to produce in this case. You don't just produce anyhow. You make sure you put them into consideration so that you'll be able to produce what they need. And at the end of the day, you find out that you give out what they need and you'll be able to maximize your profits. In this type of economy, there is a separation of the government and the market. Government doesn't intervene, no government intervention. This separation, it prevents the government from becoming too powerful, and it keeps them away. It keeps their interest aligned that of the market. It doesn't disturb. When you go to Hong Kong, you see this kind of market that we're talking about. Is So having seen the definition of a free market, I would like you to take good note of the following. Let's look at the characteristics, just a few of them. You know, is private property. Most goods and services are privately owned. I can bring my goods to the market, and you are free to get it from me. So you can as well bring yours, and I'm free to bargain and get it. You know, you buy from me, and my aim as a supplier is to make gain, and yours as a consumer is to achieve your maximum satisfaction, to derive your maximum satisfaction. So that's why I as a consumer, I as a supplier must go for market survey, make sure that I know your heart, make sure that I know what you need at this time before coming in with it. We have freedom of choice. The private owners are free to produce. Everybody's free. Sell, produce your goods and services in a competitive market. We go to the market, different prices. You bring yours, I bring mine. The one that takes the best beating goes for it. So it mustn't be I alone, you alone. People comes in, there's freedom, free exit, free entry, going in, out and in and all that. Competition is there, and there's limited government. Government doesn't disturb there. Government doesn't disturb there. So this is free market. You can read up the disadvantages and all that. So that's free market for you. Free market is just as the name implies, free. People are free to come in. People are free to go. You are free to sell as probably you are selling pepper, and I'm selling pepper. I may decide to sell three for 50 naira, then you sell three for 100 naira. We are free to make whatever choice you want in the market, and government doesn't intervene because it's a free market. Everybody is free. Do whatever thing you feel like, and you go on with it. Okay? So we have the second one, socialist economy or centrally planned economy. So the question is asked here. Have you ever heard about a society where everything they do is being controlled by a central authority? That society is socialist economy. Have you ever heard about it? Hello?
Like the old USSR.
Have you ever heard about a society where everything they do is controlled by the central authority? That's the government.
Yes.
Yes, like the old USSR.
Eh?
The old USSR.
USSR, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you're right. You're correct. So in this kind of economy, it's not as free as the free market economy where you do anyhow you want. Government is fully in charge. They are fully in charge. They do everything. They decide on what to produce. They decide on how they make the production. They make the decision of to whom do we give it to. Government is in charge of everything. Government doesn't give a damn. You dare not do anything with them. You dare not compete. You dare not. They are fully in charge. They have all it takes to make sure that things are done in their own favor. Government makes the plans. Government owns and controls means of production. They do everything. There is the abolition of property. People doesn't have. Hello, David. Ayele. You are welcome to the class. Please, you people are making noise.
Hello, ma. Hello, ma.
Hello, you guys are making noise.
Oh, sorry, let me mute.
I'll bring my care, though. I'll bring my care. I think I'll assign Charles to write down the names of noisemakers, people that are disturbing in this class. Joseph or Rapo. Hello, Mr. Joseph Orapo. You are welcome to the class. Hello. All
Thank you,
right.
ma.
You're welcome. Are you Blessing Orapo's sister, a brother? Are you
No, ma.
Blessing Orapo's brother?
No, ma.
All right. I have somebody in my church. Her name is Blessing Orapo. Okay.
Okay. Thank you,
So
ma.
I thought you are our brother. You are welcome to the class. I think you are
Thank
following
you.
us.
Very well, ma.
All right. I hope it's not boring.
No, it's fine.
All right. So we are still looking at the socialist economy, the centrally planned economy. There's no freedom of property. It doesn't own ownership of property is abolished. It's only the government who owns the land, who owns the everything. They owns everything. They make the applications of whatever thing they feel like, the way they want it to go. And there is a heavy progressive tax. People pay tax and they pay through their nose. And I believe things will be very costly there because you don't have rights to determine for them. They make their decisions, But I think in most cases is not really visible because I don't think in our Nigeria here we don't practice it. Here we practice a mixed basically. So in this place, you find out there's abolition of rights of inheritance. You don't inherit anything. Governments make their choice and they do whatever thing they want. The government, the only thing they do, they ensure a more equitable distribution of the national income. They try as much as they can to distribute, to make sure their resources are being allocated adequately, to the poor masses, or will I say to the masses. They try as much as they can to make sure they do that, and they can quickly mobilize economic resources on a large scale, unlike in the free markets. In free market economy, you find out that here they mobilize this economic resources in a larger scale because they have the capacity. They're able to execute massive projects and create industrial powers. They have what it takes. They move in for it and they look for what it takes. So when we look at the merits, we look at it's hard for the centrally planned central planners to provide for everyone's need. Find out that there will be lapses. Who will not be able, actually scarcity is all naturally, or will I say the way nature has made it. It's difficult for provisions of everyone's needs to be made. But in this case, since the individuals are not allowed, or the companies on their own are not allowed to make decisions, they don't say what they want, the government just give them what they feel like, you find out that lapses comes in. It's hard to make, to produce, to provide for everybody. And it forces the government to ration. So it makes them to ration because they cannot calculate demand. They can't calculate demand. Unlike in free economy, people goes into the market. You find out that people basically need shoes now. I think if we are to give them raincoats, rain boots, and all that, we'll be able to. You find out that those things will be pushed into the market at that time. But since the government, they don't care, they feel like whatever thing we can give them, we produce at whatever rate and whatever quantity. They are not looking at how many is needed, how many do we give to the market. So there is a lack of innovation too, since there is no need to take any risk. Workers are also forced to pursue jobs the government deems fit. You know, people go to look for the jobs government makes deem fit. You don't say, I need this one, I want to do this kind of job. You look for the one they have is what you take. You don't have any choice. The market is not free, just as we have said before. The government takes over price determination. The law of demand and supply doesn't come into play. Law of demand and supply does not exist here. People don't make demands of what they want. They are only giving what the government feel like giving to them. So that's the thing. Can equally go ahead and read up so many of them. Then that takes us to mixed economy. When we talk about mixed economy, ordinarily there are some things that will come into our mind. There are some things that will come into our mind. Hello? Are you okay? So who would tell me, oh yeah, Chijoke, tell me what you understand by mixed economy? Just the way it sounds.
When we make reference to a mixed economy, it means there is some level of government interference as well as the private individuals. Both have a stake in the system.
Exactly. You are right. You are very correct. You are very correct. It's bringing the two together. Bringing mixed free market and socialists together. You are just very correct. Government, in this case, government plays and individual plays. But each other, both of them allow each other to exist. There's coexistence of both. The two exist at the same time. You know, nobody disturbs the other. It's just that government most times stands in the form of check. They make some checks, just like as we have in Nigeria here. We practice mixed economy. We are not all that free. We don't just do anyhow in the market. We have some authorities that check, just like the SON, SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria. They check the standard of goods. We have the NAFDAC, you know, all those people, they check and check. That's government intervening in what people are doing. Both of them, they are price takers. You don't just come and say, I have the full right to do this, I have the full right to do that. So that's the thing. Government is fully involved in it. So government is there. There's less government intervention than a command economy. They don't take everything. It's 50-50. You know, it means that the private business can run more efficiently and cut costs down because they have someone that is monitoring them. You don't just hit people, unlike in the free market. You come, you can sell one broomstick, 1,000 naira. This one can sell it so amount. But in this case, we have teams that monitor what is happening. So these teams that put some restrictions. They won't allow the market to exploit the individuals, you know. So government intervene to correct some irregularities and market breakdowns. You know, for instance, most government will come in and break up large companies in their abuse monopoly power. You see some companies, they come up on their own. They just want to make all the gains, stand as a monopoly. Nobody has right over them. So when government comes in, they break all those things. You know, they can create safety net programs like health care or social security. So these are the things that government, in mixed economy, government can use taxation policies to share income and reduce inequality. Government intervention is very, very important in a mixed economy because, in fact, in an economy without the government coming in, there will be so much exploitation and people will not really be at ease the way things will go. And if we are to leave it in centralized method too, it won't be all that funny as well. So, but in this mixed economy, you find out that it goes to this one and it goes to this other person, and bringing it together is palatable. It's palatable because governments, they can equally use tax policies. They use it to reduce income and reduce inequality. They use it, when they see that these excesses, they increase in taxation. They use taxation policies. They know how they will spread it across, and you find out that at the end of the day, things will stabilize and normalize. So find out that things will go the way it should, and at the end of the day, the economy will keep going well. So this is what we can say about alternative economic system. Alternative economic system. So I don't know if there's any. Hello? All right.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
I don't know if there is any contribution based on what we have been discussing thus far. Contributions. Let me hear some contributions. Chinasa, you are welcome. You're welcome to the class. Unmute yourself. Chinasa, unmute yourself. All right. Please, you're welcome. Please unmute yourselves. Let's have some contributions. You're welcome, Chinasa. I don't know thus far if something has gone down there. You're welcome, Engineer Edos. I can see
Yes,
you
ma'am.
again. I've seen you before, so you're welcome. So I don't know if there is any contributions. Victor, you're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. All right. So let's have some contributions, some questions. I'm waiting. Hello.
With you.
When everybody's talking, nobody's talking. Engineer Dose, any contribution thus far?
No, I'm okay. I'm perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Binasa, okay. Kenneth Ifenkwa, do you have any contribution?
Oh.
Any question?
No question, ma'am.
Okay. So shall I take it that everybody, we were all in tune with what we were discussing?
Very well, ma'am. Very well.
Yes,
Very well,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Really
Welcome.
an interesting lecture. It reminds us of so many things we have learned in those days. But
Right.
can we, hello, ma?
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Can we now consider Nigerian market system as being free or mixed now in this context? Hello, ma. Hello.
Hello, David.
Hello, ma. Did you hear my question?
Hello.
I can't hear the back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, ma?
No, David, this is Victor. I can hear you.
Oh.
It's like she's gone off. The thing's network is bad or something.
Sorry, I thought I'm talking to everybody.
How come it's like it's only two of us left in the class?
Oh, that is serious.
Well, I guess we are
We
all
can hear
here,
you.
but
We're
I
all
can
this
hear
here.
you.
is
I think she left.
we are all here.
I can hear you. I
This
think
is having
she's
network
having
issues.
issues.
But David was asking a question. Hello, David. Hello.
Support, what's going on?
Having some technical issues. She will be with us soon. Hold on. Please hold on, everyone.
Hello?
I have network issues.
Are we together now?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can
All
hear you.
right. Okay. You asked a question. So I was about getting at you, but I think I don't know what really happened. So you can hear me.
Okay.
Yes. What did you say?
My question was that very interesting discussion there. I'm asking that in the Nigerian context now, are we in a free market society or a mixed market now in this context?
Okay, that's I heard you then. Okay, when we look at the economic system in Nigeria, we can see that we have some government interventions. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You find out that the market is not just as free as what we think. Like I can remember, in fact, generally, or will I say from the federal level, you find out that we have people that check for standard in products. They check the standard of products. You know, those products are going to the market. So they are not just pushed into the market like that. They are being checked. And who checks them? Mr. David, who checks them?
The central government.
Government agencies.
So in that case, you find out that the government intervenes. Government doesn't allow the producers to just push in their goods like that into the market. They don't want the society to be, will I say, messed around with products. So government intervenes. So when we look at our economy here, we find out that in most cases, government intervene. We have the NAFDAC. NAFDAC, they check the dates and all that. They intervene in that aspect. You have the Standard Organization of Nigeria. They check the standard of products that are being presented in the market. So in that case, we are operating basically on mixed economy. We operate mixed economy here because the government comes in while the forces of the law of demand and supply still comes into play. So, and the law of demand and supply is about free market economy. So we find out that the two comes into play, both free market and socialist. Government comes in, individuals comes in. I think did that answer your question?
Yes, ma. But is there any way in the world now that still operates the free market economy in this context?
I can't just say. Then I knew that Hong Kong was practicing it, but presently I can't say I cannot really say. I can't say for now.
Because I'm wondering whether there is any part of the world that government doesn't have a say at all.
I don't think there is any place. And when we come to even think of it, when government does not have any say, most times it doesn't go well with the masses. You find out that the masses are being intimidated. You just get what you may not really want to, just because there is no authority that supersedes the masses or the producers. Sorry. There is no authority that looks into what they do. Do you understand? So
Yes,
I don't think there is any place now in the world that government does not really come in. Probably in most places now, I think it's mixed economy that they are operating on. But centralized system of economy is still on in some places. It's still on in some places. Chama, you are welcome. Unmute yourself and talk to us. Unmute yourself. Mr. David, are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's any other...
Can I add something, ma? I think in most of the economies now, just like you said, they are practicing mixed economy.
Yeah.
But one thing peculiar is that some countries are more interested in some products than others, and especially at certain levels. That's what I've observed. For instance, in Nigeria, they may have interest in some products and may not have interest in some other lower products. For example, with what's happening in the country now, everybody is producing face masks. The government does not even show any interest in that. Everybody seems to be focusing on the oil or on the drugs that are being used for the COVID-19. I think that's a peculiar case where the government shows interest in some products and does not show interest in some other products. That's also a mixed economy anyway.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Because there are some products that are economic products. Like when we talk about that crude oil, so government looks at it as a major means of income. So they wouldn't let it go. So government will definitely, want to harness that and target that as one of their means of income. And to them, being that they are expected to pushing things to the masses, they are to allocate some resources to the masses. They are to hold on some products so that they will be able to make money there, make incomes there. So that's another good one. Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Victor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. So please, we are still expecting for more contributions and more contributions. Should we go to the next module? I wouldn't know how many, whatever we have to go. I don't know how many minutes we have to go. So, do we go to the next module? If you are okay with this, or are there still some questions rising, some contributions we should look at? I'll call you people one after the other. Mr. Henry, you are welcome. Evening. Speak on, I'm hearing.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. You are welcome to the class.
Thank you, ma. I just wanted to contribute. I don't think there are most products. I think the government really have a say, even with the face mask and all, because every health-related product, any product that can affect like food or this any product, it must have a NAFDAC number because it can't be sold in any public place without a NAFDAC number. So if you're now buying off on one-on-one basis at the detriment of your health, that's on you. But if it must sold in a shop, it must have a NAFDAC number.
All right, you are correct too. But what he's looking at, just like what he said, the issue of crude oil, which area again? But basically crude oil. When you come to crude oil, it's assumed it's federal government's business. Do you understand? So
Yeah, okay.
when we talk about NAFDAC number, definitely, even if you are producing water, you must register it. Government is not the one selling it. Do you understand? They are not the one producing it. They are not the one pushing it out. But
I'm not the one fixing the price also.
they are not the one fixing the price also. But they are just there to monitor and see that the marks you are giving to people, are they of right standard? That's why I said we have this Standard Organization of Nigeria. These people comes into play to check the standards of things that are being given to the people. Are they in good standard? NAFDAC, those things, are they quality, and all that, expiring dates and all that. So that doesn't mean that when we talk about government coming in, definitely government must sanction everything. If they don't, those products will not come to the market. Like now, if you now, Madam Choma, if you are to produce anything now, definitely you must take it to the government. Government has to sanction you. That's why you go for corporate affairs commission to register your whatever, your business. So that government to be aware that you want to be doing this. So, and they give you specifications. That doesn't mean that they are the one that will come and give you the price. So, but in crude oil, when it comes to crude oil, when it comes to cocoa and all that, these are mainly where they specialize, where they, So, you are right, but government.
Okay, Mark.
Are you okay?
Yeah, okay. I wanted to ask a question again.
Okay, you're free.
One of the characteristics of a mixed economy that government releases some of the products, some economic of some sectors to the private, but they hold on to some. Is it one of the characteristics of the mixed economy?
Of the mixed economy?
Yes, as in they are in charge of few markets, like some like defense, probably oil, railways or something, and releases some of the sectors of
Yes, government withheld some, because those ones cannot, just like this crude oil we are talking about now. Okay. You can't just, when they see somebody, people that, or group of people or whatever, bunkering and all that, they go to them, arrest them. So that's why, just like railway, as you said, railway and defense and all that, individuals cannot manage it. Do you understand? Okay. So government has to come in. It's one of the characteristics. It's one of the features. Government has to come in to make sure that those sectors are well managed. Because if you allow an individual, they won't be able to cope. It's sort of large, will I say large area, which individuals will not be able to handle well.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. We are still waiting for contributions. Or do we go to the next module? Do we? I don't really know how many minutes we have to go. I don't know how many minutes. Mr. Onyachijoke, we are waiting for you. Say something now. Mr. Charles. Hello?
Hello, ma. I understood what was told.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I'm clear.
All right. So do we go to the next module, or we'll keep it tomorrow?
We can do tomorrow, ma.
Tomorrow, ma.
So yeah, okay. Tonight. Oh, it's already 11. Okay. Okay, so see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, please.
Probably if I'm not the one, I may not be the one coming up. Someone else will come up and take the next model. Hmm?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
And
Good
God
night,
bless
ma'am.
you. Above all,
Good night, ma.
Good night,
remember
ma.
that, yes, are you hearing me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Please, above
Yes,
all,
ma'am.
Jesus is what? The only
Lord.
solution. So I just want you to know that it's all about who? Jesus. So have a good night, lovely dreams, and God bless you.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you, ma'am.
You too, ma.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much, ma'am.
Bye. Bye.
Yes, ma'am.